Okay, welcome back everybody to the Formula Fun podcast and the race review for Azerbaijan. As per usual, I'm joined by Mr. Rage himself. How are you doing this week, my friend?
Do I really need to say? It's always fabulous.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking out of common courtesy. If you'd
Absolutely
rather I skipped
fabulous.
over that and then just and this guy. This guy's also here.
This
And I can
person
do that
is
in
here
future
just
if
for
you
the
want.
No, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
How's the leg?
The leg?
Yes.
What's wrong with my leg?
I don't know, you tell me.
I mean, it was there when I was born, and it's still there. So I guess that's good progress
That's
or
good
consistency from
Keep
the
fighting.
leg. I mean, I'm not going to return it anytime soon. So I guess, yeah, 10 out of 10. 10 gold blooms out of 10 gold blooms
Good.
for that leg. Right, don't know where that came from, but we're here to talk about Formula One. God damn it.
Okay.
And we had a pretty, well, we just had another cracker, didn't we?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff, as we've come to accept at Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I was a little worried this year. You know, the season's been pretty awesome so far. It's been a great start to the season. Action all over the place. And I was hoping that we wouldn't get Baku Year 1 and more of Baku Year 2. And we certainly got that and some.
We did. I think I messaged you straight afterwards just saying I didn't think that we could top Baku 2016. 2017, sorry, and we did.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It was epic, as we will get into.
Shall we start off where we normally do in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I want to keep this bit as short as possible week to week.
So,
I mean, there was quite a bit more in practice this week than normal.
Oh, Jesus. So cars didn't go round in circles, some faster than others? Some not at all?
Well, that happened, of course. That goes without saying. It comes with the territory. But some also crashed.
Did they?
And yeah, Max Verstappen.
I don't know who, because I didn't watch. Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Verstappen practice 2
Crashed. Verstappen.
crashed indeed. And someone crashed in P3.
Yes, they did.
I can't
Yes, they
remember
did.
who it was.
I don't know either.
Good. Sirotkin. Sirotkin put it in the barrier.
Cheeky
as well.
Sirotkin.
I mean, it was turn 3, just no hope of making it around the corner. Took far too much speed in.
Casual Sirotkin.
And just went straight on. And what was a general improvement from Williams this weekend? They were looking good from practice, and that translated into the rest of the weekend as well.
What was that? Sorry, I missed what you said at the beginning.
I said it was a much improved weekend
For
Williams.
there we go. Yeah, I guess they were there, weren't they? They turned up. Frank was probably there, watching, or not at all.
I don't know about Frank. I was not aware of Frank Watch this weekend. I let my duties slip.
Damn. Normally on that so much, but you must have just.
There he is. Oh, I see him.
Good Frank.
Scoundrel. Yeah, he's yeah, it was a better weekend for them, but I'm sure we'll get onto that. So let's get into qualifying then. And let's start in Q1. So Roman Grosjean had a gearbox issue. Didn't even make qualifying. Probably for the best if he was to know how his weekend turned out.
Poor Roman.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll get to that in the race, but it wasn't the best weekend. Well, it was a good weekend for him until
I guess.
one moment.
I saw on the driver of the day, he was like like right up there. So he was like third on the list of driver of the day.
Yeah, but that's for the memes, isn't it?
Do you think it was for the memes?
Yeah, of course it was.
All of those French memes.
People
I think the Americans love him. Do you think? I don't know.
Well, how could you genuinely give the driver of the day to someone that did that?
Maybe all the votes came in before, and I don't know. Maybe they enjoyed it because he spiced it up a bit.
Yeah,
Spicy,
but
spicy.
it's still giving him the vote because he crashed.
Yeah,
That's still a little bit ironic at the end of the day. Yeah, So yeah, let's stay on qualifying. Hartley had a terrible time. I think he had some issues. Couldn't get through. Ericsson in the Sauber, much more of what I think you were expecting out of him this season, this weekend. Not great in 18th. And Gasly and Van Dorn. Another bad weekend for Van Dorn.
It's a bad miss. I was just looking at what you were looking at and was like, I'm not seeing these. I was still on practice. Yes. On the page now.
We're in qualifying. Oh, you're still in practice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Practice tab. This is what you come to expect.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And then
Bad
Stroll.
turn up for Gasly, do you think? Or do you think that was the best he could have done?
I mean, it's difficult to say because Hartley didn't put in a competitive time, so it's difficult to see where their pace was. But they did definitely struggle, and with the straights,
it's a big power circuit, isn't it? Because those straights.
It's one of the very unusual street circuits that relies heavily on power as well. So yeah, I think they were just struggling for straight line speed. They definitely did better in the race. So
excellent position for old Charles.
Yes, we're not there yet.
Oh well, almost there.
Both Williams say improved performance from them. Both getting through to Q2. Where are we in Q2? Oh yeah, because I was in the wrong thing. Right. So yeah,
off to a good start.
I'm using the Sky one this week.
We missed off Mags, and then I went to Charles. So
yeah, I was in Q1 still, which was a completely different order. So yeah, Magnussen, the best of the Hasses, and definitely a drop in pace for them this weekend in terms of qualifying speed.
Just pulled through though into Q2.
Yep, and then as you say, Shuttles had an incredible weekend all round, which we'll get to in the race. But to get through to Q2 and be only a few hundredths off Alonso is pretty good. It's pretty good. Alonso, as much as he can really manage in that McLaren, struggling once again. They're not getting any better.
Nope.
In terms of one lap speed. And then the two Williams, great weekend for them compared to where they were. 11th and 12th. So good showing from them. And nice to see them getting back in the directions. I heard them talking over the weekend, and it was it's a case of they now identified what the problems are and they're starting to fix them, which is a better place to be than not knowing what on earth is going on like early in the season.
Or McLaren.
Or McLaren, who've just have given up. I don't know what's happening with them. We'll wait and see. A big race next time. Let's not forget when we go back to Europe, and a lot of these teams will bring some massive update packages. So we will see. Into Q3, both Renaults 9th and 10th, and a massively improved Force India in 7th and 8th. I think a similar situation to Williams, starting to understand some of the problems with their car. I think the pace is definitely there for them. It's just taken them a while to find it.
Saw a definite shift in the right direction with Renault this week, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, they're definitely in the race. They were very competitive.
I guess not so much in quali, but still, it's good to see them so close.
Yeah, I think it really shows how much more of a power circuit this is than a lot of people think it is, because Force India's resurrection could have been a lot to do with that engine as well, and having those extra quali modes this year. And then Kimi Räikkönen, the ballad of Kimi Räikkönen. I mean, I presume obviously you were watching qualifying and saw his lap.
So every time he screwed it up, yeah. Going into Q1, yeah. I mean Q3, sorry. It's just he was up, and then right on that last corner, the pivotal corner. Bless him. I know. It was
like he's gonna do it. He's gonna finally get pole. Vettel's not going quicker either. Oh, he's fucked it up. Oh, Kimi. It's a shame for him, really, and put him back further than he needs to be. He really needs a front row start with Vettel for us to see if he can really, if he is allowed to race him. I think we all presume he's not, but you know, if he was on the front row and he got a great start, he's not going to back off, is he?
No.
So that's what we need to see. Red Bulls,
you could barely pull them apart, can you? Really, 141.9s for both of them.
Yeah, great great times from them. I think they're still missing that little bit of extra pace, but I think on a power circuit, if they're as close as they were to Mercedes and Ferrari, I think we definitely have a title challenge on our hands with Red Bull if they continue to improve and Renault keeps bringing improvements. So good 4th and 5th for them. Then to Mercedes, Hamilton returning to form ahead of Bottas at last in terms of qualifying pace anyway. And then Vettel, just when he has the car, he is in the same league as Hamilton, isn't he? That on their day they're unbeatable.
He's such a good qualifier. He's so dependable as well. Q1 did what he needed to do. Q2 again pretty much did what he needed to do. It wasn't anything blinding, but he was there or thereabouts. But when the time is necessary, boom, 140.14. It's just 2/10, well, near enough 2/10 away from the competition on a big long course like that. It's good to see. So yeah, amazing. He can just put down that kind of marker, and I think he did that on his first run, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, he didn't go quicker than second. So that's when you know someone's really informed, when they go out there in Q3 and bang, pole lap straight away.
Yeah,
very Hamilton-esque. So, but we were all hopeful, Hamilton and Vettel on the front row in Baku after what happened last year. It was always going to be a bit spicy, we'd hoped. But yeah, so that was qualifying. Best performance for you?
What, qualifying?
Yeah.
Dan Ricciardo. Getting that car where it needed to be, beat his teammate, second row. Brilliant for me.
For me, it was Leclerc. Just great pace from him, and to be that close to Alonso.
Best of the rest, I guess, of those back markers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to get one up on the Haas with that engine as well.
Yeah, well, by quite some margin as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he was miles quicker than Ericsson all weekend. So finally starting to feel at home, I think, in that kart. And yeah.
Much better performance from him in qualifying, because that's been his real weak point, hasn't it, so far in his venture into F1. Qualifying hasn't been his strong point just yet. So hopefully we see him gaining a little bit in confidence with these latest results. Which is
I would think so, especially qualifying, especially when you're a new driver, is, I'm sure there's always that little bit you hold back, maybe subconsciously, that will come in time with the extra confidence in the car, and he's certainly starting to get a handle on that. So yeah, good qualifying, and it was a good sign of things to come from him, and could well be Raikkonen's replacement, I think. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Right, on to the race then. I mean, where do you start with this one? At the start, I guess. So it was a good getaway from Vettel and from Hamilton for a change. But it was further down the field that things really started happening. So I think it's turn 3. We had, I think Sorokin hit the back of a Toro Rosso, I want to say.
There was a little bit of a tapping from the Williams, yes.
Actually, no, I think he might have hit Ocon first.
There was some Williams on Force India bashing at the beginning, which then in turn into the next set of corners caused a few issues, let's say.
Yeah, so Alonso got hit. I think it was
a Williams being pushed, a Renault being pushed by a Williams, wasn't it?
I think it was a Renault. You know, we're great at this. We know exactly what happened. People in the podcast will know. We get into our stride eventually. I think it was Hulkenberg hitting. I think it was a.
I thought it was the Williams was squeezing the Renault, and Alonso was on the outside, or technically the inside of the corner, and it was a Renault sandwich. Renault in the middle. Renault was the filling. Williams and then Alonso, and the Renault went straight through and clipped the side of Alonso, and
something like that.
That happened.
And big damage from Alonso, 2 punches on
double
either
puncture,
side,
and pulled it back.
That scene of him coming into the pit lane
When
Iconic.
I'm just literally going out there, I can't even think of a time when that's ever happened. Double puncher, got it back from the beginning of the circuit, such a big, long circuit. How did he get it up the chicane? Like,
I don't know.
Like, you saw how much he was wobbling when he came back in. He was rolling on steels when he got back into the pit. That was just a testament
The
to
most impressive thing
how
was...
cool he is.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Incredible control to get that back. And the best thing was him getting it into that pit box without a problem.
I know.
Like, how did he turn that? And the balls on those mechanics not to just clear out of the way till he'd parked it.
Yeah.
Like, anything could happen.
That was just... He earned his pay, his whole year's pay, right there.
Well, he
Bringing
does
that car back.
get paid a fucking lot of money.
He gets paid a lot of money.
He's got to do a bit more than that. I'll do that for that his amount of money. I could do that. For that, if I was getting paid 25 million for that one bit.
But how many cars would have parked with that kind of damage?
Oh, yeah. It's a testament to the fact he still wants to race and still wants everything he can out of it.
So he had severe damage to the floor. He had 2 wheels in his wagon.
And
Luckily,
it back.
Two either side. Do you think he would have tried with 2 rears or 2 fronts?
I think 2 rears you couldn't have.
Because you'd have no drive, would you?
No.
2 fronts you wouldn't be able to turn at all.
No. I think it was lucky, I think. And think about it, it's the left side, so you could still turn right pretty well, left pretty well, and there's quite a lot of left-hand turns.
Like, that reminded me of Michael Schumacher when he lost the wheel, going into the back of was it DC?
Yeah, at Spa.
In the pouring rain.
Was it Spa? Yeah, it was Spa.
And still managed to take the corner.
Still drove it back, no problem at all.
I know. He could have finished the race, to be fair. He would have been fine.
Yeah, he had like a couple of laps lead at that point. But yeah, he that just showed the great balance of that Ferrari car as well. It lost a wheel and it looks fine.
It just casually takes it. We're gonna link that. We're gonna link that incident in the description below because it is one of the finest little moments of F1.
I've got to believe that if you're watching this and haven't seen that, then you should clear off. Everybody's seen that, surely.
But I'm just going for the people who may have not seen.
The ones that I've just insulted.
Yeah, the ones that have now just left and hit the unsubscribe button. You guys, right now, go and watch it. It's in the description below.
Yeah, and then never come back.
Then bugger off.
What are you doing? Watch every year of Formula One before you come and watch this podcast, because we're very knowledgeable, not. Right, and then the big incident we were missing, I guess, was Raikkonen and Ocon. I mean, it happened with Bottas last year with Raikkonen. What was your view on that? I think it was... I'm going to say it's more Ocon's fault, but I think it was Raikkonen, a bit of Raikkonen as well. He should have pulled out of it, but it was Ocon just chopping him off, wasn't it?
I think Ocon could have given him a bit more room.
Way more room.
But Raikkonen should have wised up a little bit to the fact that it's Ocon. Like, it's the beginning of the race. He should have slowed a little bit more than what he did. He was on full lock. Like, there's nothing he could have done at that point, but he should have made allowances. It wasn't his corner, really, was it? You know, Ocon was ahead. So I think he rightly deserved his penalty, but Ocon squeezed him, and Ocon probably got a slap on the wrist as well for what he did. You know, I think they spoke, BBC, Channel 4 spoke to one of the technical directors of Force India after the race, and even he said, we have no idea what Raikkonen was doing. I don't think anyone does when he went into the side of Ocon. But yeah, I think that the blame for that, definitely lies on Raikkonen's shoulders, in my opinion.
Oh, you see, I'm the other way around. I think Raikkonen could have pulled out of it, and I think that's not the cause of the accident. The cause of the accident was that Ocon just chopped him off.
Yeah,
because he had so much room on the outside. But
yeah.
I guess they both have to blame, and it set the tone for what's to be a very explosive race. So yeah, Raikkonen also obviously had to stop. He had front wing damage and was almost at the back of the grid. And then we had our first safety car of the afternoon straight away.
As soon as that happened, I was like, safety car.
Yep, out you come. And then I guess the next talking about point was the restart. A lot of people very critical of how Hamilton specifically, about how Vettel restarted the race.
Yeah, his stop start,
Weaving all over the place.
which
Was
I knew he
great
was
to
going to do it.
watch.
I knew he was going to do it because of what happened last year. And I think that was still in the back of his mind. Not that he wanted Hamilton to crash into the back of him, but I think he's probably thinking, well, shoes on the other foot, mate. I can now control what's going on. But yeah, I think Hamilton complained to Charlie either during or after the race, and Charlie said there's no problem at all with it.
Yeah, he complained during, and he mentioned it a few times in interviews afterwards. I think it was on the edge of what he should be doing.
There's a short rule in the regulation about changing the pace and direction on a restart.
Yeah, you're allowed to warm up your tyres and brakes, but you're not allowed to brake check the car behind. Or start and stop unnecessarily. I think he knew exactly what he was doing, and I think it's just about within the rules, but I think it was borderline. Especially with so many, with at that point 17 or 18 cars all tucked up behind him, but it led for a cracking restart. And it was the restart, I think, that Carlos Sainz got past Ricciardo.
This is where it all started to kick off with the Bulls, didn't it? Because no one could get their tyres back up to temp because of the slow restart. Everyone's tyre temps literally wandered off into nothingness, and everyone was struggling. I think Mercedes was struggling, and then the Bulls were struggling to get pace into those get heat into those tyres. So this is when it all started to go crazy, didn't it?
Yeah, so the Bulls were the real cork in the bottle. The Mercedes were struggling, but they
were the what? The cork in the bottle?
Yeah, because...
What's the cork in a bottle?
They're backed up because they're a cork in a bottle because people can't get past. That's a very normal saying.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a very motorsporty saying as well. It's where it's like at Monaco where if you have one car that's backing up everybody and he goes in the pit, you release the cork from the bottle and everything flows out the bottle. As in people were released. But they were the cork in the bottle because the Vettel and the Mercedes were struggling, but they were still sort of keeping with Vettel. But by the end of the stint, it was a 25-30 second gap between the Red Bulls and the front guys. They really, really struggled on those super softs to get them to work. And it led to some incredible racing between the two Renaults, the two Red Bulls, and Leclerc and Sorokin joining the party as well, and Stroll joining the party as well. So... yeah, it was great to see Sainz, Ricciardo, Verstappen, and Hülkenberg all fighting away. And there was some great moves, and Sainz eventually got past both the Red Bulls, and then Hülkenberg got past the pair of them, and then Hülkenberg crashed.
He's not got a good track record here, is he?
He's not a fan of Baku for some reason.
Bless his little cotton socks.
It's very strange because it's not as if we see him crashing constantly at Monaco. So there's obviously something about that circuit he doesn't
get on with.
Yeah.
It was a bit odd. I was a bit surprised when he crashed. I was like, oh no, Hulky Hulk, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's a very strange moment. He just got out on the very dusty part of the curbing and the car just went instantly. Into the barrier, and that was his race over. And then the battle of the Red Bulls started, really. And I guess this is the main thing to talk about. I mean, it was breathtaking to watch those two go at each other for what it must have been 20-25 laps.
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there were Ricciardo constantly trying to get past Verstappen. Every time he got past, Verstappen would just completely run him out of road. Mm-hmm. To the point that it sort of came to a head at the Turn 1 incident where Max sort of floated across the curb and then they ended up banging wheels. And then there was another move a bit later on where Verstappen literally almost shoved him off the road trying to hold him off. It was borderline again from Verstappen, but I think those two can race like nobody else can. But you could tell they were getting heated.
It was good to see those guys. I was like, finally we're getting a good proper battle between these boys, like proper going for it. Every single fucking time they came round to that pivotal point when they just got in the tow after that big long straight. And do you reckon they were smiling, or do you reckon they were angry in those helmets?
I think they would have enjoyed it to begin with.
Yeah.
But I think the how robust Max was in his defence was starting to wind Ricciardo up. It must have.
Do you think that he was on the radio saying, "Guys, you got to let me through"?
No, I think those two weren't listening to a single word or saying a single word on that radio. I think they were utterly locked in.
It was great to see, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I would say about Max, and I've said the last few races, he can't change how he races, and he was incredibly aggressive defending this time, but that's what makes him so exciting to watch. And you have someone like Ricciardo who made some of the front runners look like amateurs last race, and he comes up then against someone like Max, and then you get to see how good Max is as well, because he can. Because Ricciardo clearly had more pace. I think Max was struggling with a battery issue as well, so he was massively down on straight line speed, and he just kept Ricciardo behind him lap after lap after lap.
I think they both had an issue of some kind, whether it was recharging after they were using their power delivery or their push to pass system. I think they were both having problems, but because Max was being so heavily pushed by both Renaults, I think Dan just managed his slightly better, I think, but Max's was taking a long time to recharge. So whether Dan could get a little bit more charge out of his, or he managed his tyres slightly better, I'm not entirely sure. I think they both had the issue, didn't they?
They both had a recharging issue. I think Max's seemed a bit more severe to the eye. The issue is with this Renault system, you can't fully drain it. Otherwise, it takes an awful long time to recharge.
Yeah.
And they were so aggressive in the first couple of laps, trying to make up positions and hold position, that I think they both accidentally used all the charge. And then that's what Red Bull said. He said, "No, look, we got to wait for it to recharge. You used it. You used the overtake buttons. There's nothing we can do now. Just got to let it recharge." I think that, along with the tyre temperature, really meant they struggled, but it made for a great battle, and they eventually caught back up to Sainz. And I think Sainz pitted a bit earlier than them. And then we had Ricciardo finally get past him then into turn one. Made it look easy.
Yep.
Won the strategy call.
He just... That was quite funny, though, because they knew they had to come in, and he knew he had to get in front, didn't he? So he could get the pit. But yeah, it was very odd that as soon as he came out, he couldn't switch on those tyres.
Well, yeah, the undercut was not their friend this weekend. Normally, if anyone... It's new to Formula 1, I don't know why you would be, but the undercut is essentially you put the fresh tyres on, pitting earlier, you have quicker tyres, you're quick around the track until the other guy pits and you come back out ahead of them, or you gain time on the car you were behind by undercutting them. And it just did not work this weekend for anybody. Just couldn't get the temperature in the tyres early enough. They were taking 4, 5, 6 laps to come up to temperature. And it meant that when Verstappen pitted, he came out comfortably ahead of Ricciardo.
I think his Ricciardo's engineer said, "Looks like we've lost out. You got to go and get him again."
Yep, let's go get him.
Frustrating. Imagine the frustrating after he's literally just tried all that time just to overtake him, and then that happens. It's just dire.
Yeah, I think at that moment we knew something was going to happen. I mean, it seemed likely that something was going to happen before. But I think at that point, when Ricciardo then had to try and get back past him, when they were both on very fresh tyres, that something was probably going to happen. But we'll postpone that for a little bit. So we had Lewis came in nice and early for his stop. Couldn't get the tyres switched on again.
Spot, didn't he?
That's right, yes. Yeah, so he locked up. showing he wasn't really comfortable in the car that weekend.
Nope.
At all. And then Vettel pitted. And
After a little while, actually, they obviously didn't. They obviously knew that the undercut wasn't an issue, did they, old Ferrari?
No, well, they were sticking to their
5 laps
strategy.
after, didn't they?
Yeah.
Casual. I thought it was going to be another Ferrari don't give a crap about track position style thingy. Or, I mean, they only care about track position. They don't care about anything else, and they're just going to stick at what they do.
Well, the thing is, with Hamilton had started to catch Vettel a couple of laps before, and then he made that mistake, and it went down to almost 9 seconds before the stop. So he had a big gap. So they could afford a few more laps. But then when they saw that Hamilton was struggling, and Hamilton dropped back to the point that he was then in danger of Bottas, who just stayed out there. And stayed out there, and stayed out there. And then the Red Bulls put the ultra softs on, and I was thinking, okay, Valtteri, if you pit now and you've got to get those tyres up to temperature, you can go and win this race, mate. Pit him, and they just refused. And I thought they'd lost a chance of winning the race until.
Do you think they were holding out for this?
Without doubt,
holding out for the crash at the end.
Well, they were waiting for a safety car. The Red Bulls were doing the same, and they thought, right, exactly what I thought, that, right, it's at this point, we've gone far enough that we can put the Ultrasofts in. If there's no safety car and we don't pit now to put on the Ultrasofts, we won't get them warmed up and get the advantage of the pace on them. So they jumped. Unfortunately, it was, I mean, they caused a safety car, so it didn't really matter for them. But yeah, Mercedes, that's exactly what they were waiting for. And I think they would have lost an opportunity to win that race if they hadn't have been one. But of course, about 10 laps to go, it happened. So it's Ricciardo trying to get past Verstappen into turn 1. Goes one way. Max sort of makes a small dummy and then moves back across to cover the inside. And Ricciardo just collects him straight into the back wing. Both cars off. Newey straight off the wall. And disaster for Red Bull.
It was hideous that Newey literally, as soon as that happened, just packed up his stuff and was like, nope! Just walks off.
Well, you know how Newey feels about all this, and the thing that he's really not a fan of at Red Bull is letting the drivers race. I think he's always been quite vocal of this, and some of the Webber-Vettel moments in the past, he's been very critical of, and it's. I think from his point of view, it's almost like, right, now you see, guys, this is, he would have been on that wall saying you've got to just let them, give them some kind of orders or get them spread out a bit, and so we can get on with the race. Because Newey never liked seeing his two cars out of the race. But I guess we have to talk about it. I mean, it was coming. Obviously, they would have been incredibly heated, and Ricciardo would have been wound up, having come back out behind him after getting past. Where does the fault blame? The fault blame. That's
where does the blame
blame
lie?
Fall.
Blame lie.
You know what I mean? Whose fault was it? I mean, it was. I think the general consensus afterwards, it was 50-50.
Yeah.
So the two question marks are whether Ricciardo just collected him like Schumacher's done at Spain and Singapore a few times, just misjudged it and gone straight into the back of a car, looking very silly. Or do we think it was Verstappen's? Do you think he moved twice?
Well,
what's Rage's breaking down of the crash, and then I'll tell you if I agree or not.
I like both drivers, as you know, just as much as I like, as much as each other. Like, some might say I'm a little bit more partial to Dan, but I appreciate Max for how good he is at racecraft and how good a driver he is.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to put in any bias at all when it comes to apportioning blame and just sitting on the fence and saying because of this or because of this it was whoever's fault. But when when you're in a position like that where you're gaining an advantage from behind, like Dan was on Max, Max knew he was there. Max knew what Dan was going to do, right? So as soon as Max showed his hand, as Dan showed his hand out to the outside, Max reacted straight away and pulled to the outside. Dan quickly showed him the dummy and sold him the dummy, and then moved to the inside where Max then covered off. It doesn't matter how big the move was, it matters how many moves there were, and especially in the braking zone, because that as soon as that second move was made, bang, that was braking zone. Whether Dan could stop or not, it doesn't matter. The moves were made. In my opinion, Max moved twice, and especially in a braking zone. So Max is at fault at least 70%. Dan couldn't have made that corner, even if he wanted to. Even if it was on the inside, he wouldn't have made that corner. And he probably would have crashed anyway. I don't think he would have been able to keep it out the tyre barrier. I don't know what he thought, where he thought Max was going to go. So that's why I think Dan still has 30% to blame. So I sit with what Nicky Lauda said when he said he would appoint 70% blame on Max and 30% blame on Dan. I don't think for a second it's a 50-50, and that's an internal call from Red Bull to say that it's 50-50 to keep people, sponsors, everyone else, and all the drivers happy. I think someone was appointed blame inside the team, and I won't say who, but let's just say someone went to head office afterwards and someone flew home. Which one do you think flew to head office? He hasn't finished a race yet this season.
Yeah, I would. I mean, do you want me to answer that? I mean, it's Max, I presume.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Max went off to Austria afterwards. So, what does that say?
Yeah, I think I didn't know about that, so that would show that.
They
I mean, there were a lot
were
of
both due to go home to Nice, both of them together on the same plane. Because DC said, I'm sharing a plane with these guys on the way home. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, they were all on there. Christian Horner,
I know,
two Red Bull drivers.
I
A
know.
lot of them. That'd be a very
Dusters.
somber fight. I would agree with you mostly. I think there were quite a few commentators, influencers and social commentators, not just Red Bull, that were saying it was 50-50, and I think it's very difficult to know. I would agree with you.
Sorry to interrupt. Were you watching Sky?
No.
Ah, okay. I was going to say it'd be good to hear. I know I don't really like the guy, but it'd be good to hear Brundle what he said at the time.
He wasn't there.
Was he not?
No.
Who was commentating?
Croft and DeResta.
What did DeResta say? Do you know?
No.
It'd be good to maybe get that. But anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole piece on it. And I want to watch the Notebook as well.
Yeah.
See what Ted thinks. But I think there's, to the trained eye, I think what Max does, and he's done this time and time again, to try and say that he doesn't move twice, is the first move is so slight you can barely see the car change direction. It almost floats one direction. Do you know what I mean? It has this slight curve.
It's almost like he's about to take the entrance to the corner.
Yeah. But that's his trademark. That's how he gets away with that first move, because he says it's just the general projection of the car, and then he makes the big move the opposite way. But anybody will know when you're racing at 200 miles an hour, that slight move in direction, as you say, would have made Ricciardo then decide to go down the inside because he thinks Max is moving to the outside.
Yeah,
and that is what the two move rule it was supposed to stop. But Max has just got such this subtle way of doing it. But there was a big comment from Ross Brawn as well that said, with these current regulations, with these cars, he strongly suspects Ricciardo was, by the time he got behind Verstappen, was a passenger, because he'd committed. He was so late on the brakes, and then he suddenly gets a car ahead of him, cutting off all aero. He probably just stalled the car, and that's what he couldn't have avoided it at that point.
I've got a funny feeling when he was on the full brakes, I think he took his feet off. I don't think he was locked out completely until he hit him. If you go back and watch it, the sudden change of speed in Max and Dan, I think he obviously went into the move, realised that Max had covered it off, and I think he just let it happen because he didn't start braking until he'd hit him. Because there's a massive speed difference after Max hit, because Max literally broke into him, because one of them slowed and one of them didn't. I've just got a funny feeling he just thought, well, if you're going to keep moving like that, literally you're going to have the rear of my car. You're going to have the front of my car, sorry. I think that was his move. He stuck on his move. There's nothing else he could do but hit the car. I don't think he buried his feet. I wouldn't have. I would have just gone, well, fuck it, you can have the whole front. And it will fall off.
Front fell off, mate. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he... it's not neither here nor there. He couldn't have done anything once he was in that position, and he was put in that position by Max. I think there was a little bit, as you say, of Ricciardo maybe just thinking, what can I do, and committing to a move that, as you say, even if Max hadn't have moved, might not have worked out anyway. But I would agree with the 70-30. I think Max was mostly to blame. I think he was so aggressive early on as well. That he that's his style, and it winds people up the wrong way. And when you've got someone like Ricciardo that's not going to back down, that's what's going to happen time and time and again. But it was great to watch. It was something that was coming though, and it'll be very interesting to see what Red Bull, because I've not seen. Horner is normally pretty angry, but
I've never seen him that angry.
I've not seen him he was silently angry in his interviews. I was watching BBC like you, and that interview with him, I think that's really struck a chord at this point. I think put together with all else that's happened with Max as well in the previous races, and how aggressive he was before the move. I'm really not looking forward to. That's the wrong way of putting it, but I'm very interested to see what Red Bull are going to do now. Especially when you've got one race, Spain, which they should be strong at, and then you've got Monaco. And Monaco, you cannot have those two drivers could well be competing for the win there. And they do not want to throw away the chance to win a Grand Prix, because it hurt them massively this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They genuinely are title contenders. But no matter what people say about, they're not close enough. They're not. You forget how quickly Red Bulls develop during the season, and they're so much closer on pace than they've been for a long time, and they've just almost doubled the deficit to both teams in one race, and it's really going to hurt them. So I'm going to be very interested to see what the fallout is from this.
How diplomatic both of them were after the crash, though, on their race interviews.
Well, I think Max, because he's had these previous incidences, and he would have had these talks with people, and he would have promised all these things, so he's got to be. And for Ricciardo, I think that's just his normal nature. He doesn't get wound up at people. He's, as you said, he'll know 100% that it was Max's fault in his mind, and it was mostly. And what can he do? It's up to the team to sort it out, isn't he? So, and he is a humble guy anyway. So, but yes, they were both great in the interviews, very humble. But I don't think that's going to stop it happening again. Unless
any love lost, do you think, between them? Do you think that's destroyed the best relationship?
I don't think they had a great relationship. To be fair, you can't as teammates. You just can't. You can be all fun and games in the press, but when they get down to it during the weekend, I don't think they would talk at all. I don't think there is this great mythical relationship between them. So no, I don't think it would have helped at all, and I think it will be as frosty as it was.
Another question. Do you think at the moment, in the way that he's driving, that Max is dangerous?
It depends how you define dangerous. I mean, in Formula 1 cars are almost as safe as they're going to be. So I don't think there's. I think that's what allows him to race like he is, that safety element. But
I guess there's only so many times you can, not necessarily you, but people can say, that it's the way he races, or there's only so many times people can say that, he's an amazing racer. Accidents happen, or this. It's every single race of the 2018 season, he has had an incident with a top 5 driver. Every single race. Now, when is he going to get out of this rut? And you saw Yoss's face after the crash on on the live TV. Why? What's gone wrong with Max's whole approach to racing since the past couple of years? Because he's never had this problem before. He's been on the limit, but he's never been crashy Maxy. Like there's never been an issue with Max and crashing. Like what do you think's changed? Do you think he's feeling psychologically pressured by Dan, or do you think that he's feeling the pressure that he has to perform because he's got a good car, or do you think it's literally just circumstance?
I think it's the kind of thing that snowballs.
Mm.
I think it'll build up pressure on himself. The first few were honestly quite racing incidents. I think China was incredibly messy, and then here was just him trying too hard. You know, he doesn't have that experienced mind to. Ricciardo would have been past anybody else on the grid, I think, way earlier, and he'd be off into the distance or would be a little bit down the road. Max just has that utter refusal to give up that I think he has to learn, that he has to, and especially this season, I agree with you, it's got to the point it has to change now. He can have that style of racing, but he has to in himself now realise that if it means losing that position in a different situation for a couple of races, then he's got to do it, because he just has to get himself back on track, because the skill is clearly there. I think that's ever in doubt, and I have absolutely no doubt that he's going to be a world champion one day. I honestly do. Most likely multiple, because he is one of the best talents we've seen in a long, long time, but he's just got to buckle down and get through this stage. I think it is just a stage. Drivers have it. And I think it's one of the things that it just builds up. You know, Formula 1 and motorsport in general just has this horrible thing of producing trends. And these things happening. You know, you had someone like Kvyat do it for a few races, and he obviously got kicked out and replaced with Verstappen. But before the season before that, he'd got a bunch of podiums and had a great season. I think Max is but I do think he can only live off that hype and the skill he has shown for so long. And I agree with you. He has to change something quickly, at least just to appease Red Bull, even if it's just to get through the season. Because I think we're all pretty sure that Ricciardo's not going to be there next year. So yeah, it's not pretty. It's exciting as hell. And here's the question: would you, as a fan, wanted to have seen, taking the crash out of context, would you have wanted to see 25 laps of those two drivers absolutely going at each other, like you don't see Hamilton and Raikkonen and Bottas and Vettel doing? Or would you have wanted none of that, but for them both to have finished comfortably? You know?
No. I think what happened needed to happen as part of the race, because it made the race, didn't it?
It made the race, and the fighting before that was just sublime. And I don't think there's two other drivers that can do it. And I think the fact that they're both in identical cars is great for Red Bull and great for the sport. But it's a money and results driven thing, and Red Bull won't put up with that for too long.
No.
And they may have reached that breaking point already. We'll have to see. He's got to get it sorted out in Spain, because if he goes to Monaco and does something similar, which is arguably their best chance of getting a win in the next few races, then
I want
they're in
Monaco
real trouble.
2015, 2016 Max back. What was the good one?
Max is terrible at Monaco.
He was good at 1 year. He was epic.
I don't think he's finished yet, is he?
I don't know. It doesn't bode well.
He's really not been great at Monaco. Right, 2017. That's qualifying race. Oh, he's fifth actually in 2017. So he did finish. I think he crashed out in practice or qualifying. But he's not been a street circuit specialist. But I think Red Bull in particular, I think they might be a long, long way clear. I have a sneaky feeling at Monaco, so I have to wait and see. But that, of course, finishing on with the race. led to a safety car, allowed Bottas to stop under the safety car and take the lead. Everybody else trying to learn from China this time took the opportunity to pit. Do you think that was a mistake from Ferrari? I think, excluding what happened after the restart.
No. Nah. I think they wanted to keep their position, didn't they?
Well, no, they were by pitting they guaranteed losing the lead.
Sorry, I misunderstood what you said.
So when the safety car came out, obviously Bottas got his stop.
Yeah.
For free, but Vettel and Hamilton also stopped.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, sorry, I missed what you heard. Everyone in the top 3 stopped and got on the ultras, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think that might have been, especially with the warm-up issues. But I guess they couldn't have foreseen Grosjean.
What happened afterwards? Yeah. I think it was the best thing to do. I think they had to cover, didn't they? Because they didn't know. I guess the pace was. The front-running pace from the Mercedes must have worried them, no matter what the tyres. I think if they had to call it. Again, if they didn't, and they had a China situation, and they were behind the leader, then they would have thrown away the race anyway. So they had to cover it, didn't they? No, I think they were right in doing what they did.
Yeah, I think so. I just think...
What tyres were they on before, Vettel?
They were on softs.
So they'd already pitted, so technically they could have gone to the end.
Yeah, they were planning to all along. Both Hamilton and Vettel had made their final stops, and Bottas was the only one holding out for a safety car. And Bottas would have come out incredibly close with Hamilton. Probably with the safety car, would have come out just ahead of Hamilton if neither of them had stopped. I mean, it's difficult to say. I mean, if it was 7 or 8 laps, then as it should have been, then I think which is what they were going off. I think the tyres would have easily got back up to temperature, and then Bottas would have got past him. So I think they did do the right thing. But I think if they'd known what was going to happen with Grosjean, I think they would have stayed out. Because 3 or 4 laps, I reckon they would have already had the tyre temperature, and I think they might have just won that race. But yeah, Grosjean's the one to talk about.
What the hell is that man doing? It doesn't bode well, does it, really? I guess it happens to the best of them. It happened to Bottas last year.
His excuse... I mean, firstly, the engineer came over the radio. The engineer came over the radio and said that he thought Ericsson had hit him. Which was utter nonsense, because Ericsson was about 2 positions behind. And then
Ericsson hit me.
Yeah. No. It was the engine. People getting that wrong. It was the engineer that said to Grosjean, "We think Ericsson hit you." Because Grosjean said, "What on earth happened there?" And his engineer said, "Oh, I don't know. I think Ericsson hit you." It's like, no, he was nowhere near him.
Nope, you dropped the car, mate.
He just dropped it. Yeah. And Grosjean's excuse, actually, after it came out after the race, was that when he was warming his tyres, he'd switched 2 positions.
Yeah, and it locked his rears.
Yeah.
But if you watch what happened, his wheels didn't lock until he'd actually made the mistake.
Yeah, he just...
Absolute twobble.
I don't know. It was a very strange act, because there was no snapping. It was almost if he just steered into the barrier.
Roman has done this far too often. Now, Brazil comes to mind 2 years ago. I think he did it in Spa as well. Yeah, I have no idea what the man's doing. He's not exactly showing he's Ferrari material by doing stuff like that.
I mean, he's utterly deluded if he thinks he's going to get in that Ferrari car at any point. He's not shown anywhere near enough. And yeah, it was just embarrassing. Big shame for Haas, because as it turned out, Magnussen, who was in the points after that, didn't actually finish with points, so threw away a good 8th position and a chance at points. And yeah, just embarrassing really for Roman. You just don't see that from top guys, so it just doesn't help his case at all. So that extended the safety car period. We had about 3 or 4 laps to go when we got back underway, and it was Bottas leading the pack into turn 1. It was everything I wanted 2018 to be before
Yes,
this
it was
season
all of them, wasn't
was
it?
that first corner.
Everyone had a toe. Everyone had cold tyres. It was great, wasn't it? And good on Vettel for giving it a bash, but he should have known that the tyres were bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly ambitious, even for him. Like, he was trying to Danny Rickett, wasn't he?
I think so.
It's not going to happen, mate. Just completely locks up, goes way too deep, and he's down into fourth by the end of turn 3. And left what we thought was a Mercedes lockout and a 1-2 at last for the Silver Arrows. Until, I mean, that guy in his luck. Valtteri Bottas hit some debris, which everyone says, why on earth wasn't that cleaned up after so many laps on the safety car?
I saw him on the live pictures hit the debris.
Yeah.
I saw him do it, and I said, he's hit debris, he's going to have a puncture, and lo and behold, poof, he had a puncture. It's just, that man has just got the unluckiest person in the world award, I swear to God. So far this season, it's awful. Bless him.
Yeah, I mean, he'd also, it's not as if he'd locked into first place. He'd stayed out. He was lapping quicker than Vettel on the old tyres before the first safety car. You know, he was utterly holding his own on those tyres and making that strategy work. And thoroughly deserved to win that race when the safety car came out. And yeah, terrible luck. Tyre blew at like 210 mile an hour or something. So scary, I would imagine. Very, very brown race suit after that.
Yes. Having a tyre go like that. A lot of poo shot straight out then.
Let's hope. Well, they only get 2 chassis for the race for the season, so good luck racing in that again, Valtteri. Yeah, it was truly terrifying and very unlucky for him. And yeah, it meant Lewis Hamilton inherited the lead. Kimi Räikkönen inherited second place somehow from being at the back of the field at the beginning of the race and went through the pits and almost half a lap down. Incredible recovery from him. And then Vettel, I presume, rotating like a squirrel rolling a nut. That's a weird analogy. Where I was going with that. But then started going backwards and Perez got past him. Sergio Perez, even with all forcing his bad luck, whenever there is a podium just to be sniffed at, it's always him.
Perez is always there.
I don't know how he does it. It's incredible.
He hasn't got any better than a third, has he? I don't think he's come second yet, has he?
He's been second twice in.
Oh, has he?
Japan, I want to say, was a second, and Malaysia, he was second to Alonso. So yeah, he's got 2 second places, but he's always there, and I think it's the first non-Ferrari, Mercedes, or Red Bull podium in well over a year, because there wasn't a single one last year, was there? Oh, there's one, wasn't there? Williams. It was Baku last year. Yeah, Williams and Force India podiums last time. But it's always him. I don't know how he does it. Because he's never 4th or 5th in any other races normally. It's just as soon as there's a penalty, who's there? Oh, it's Perez. He's there. So he took home 3rd place. Vettel followed him home in 4th. And then great weekend for Carlos Sainz. We talked a lot in the first few podcasts about Hülkenberg's just taking him to the cleaners. We'll see if this is a reversal that sticks, but Sainz was just the better man all weekend, really. Great 5th
Brilliant
place.
result for him.
And then my driver of the day by a distance, the actual driver of the day in the Formula 1 rankings as well, Charles Leclerc. Wow.
6th in a Sauber, beating a McLaren, a Williams, Toro Rosso, arguably his competition.
Yeah, but the stunning thing about it is he was there all race. You know, he was right up behind the Red Bulls and the Renault fight. And he was hassling Sainz all the way to the flag. So it was a great turn of form, and finally living up to his potential. I think we'll see if it continues, but great race for him.
Hopefully it does.
Yeah.
Hopefully it does. Bless him.
Alonso spawned a meme with his car as it was coming into the pits with 2 flats. This car finished 7th.
I've seen that one.
Yeah. It's something like, this is Formula 1, this car finished 7th or something.
How does this man constantly... He's literally the meme generator of Formula 1. If there's a meme to be had, 80% of the time, it's Alonso related.
Yeah, absolutely. His fastest lap right up there with Leclerc's, quicker than Van Dorn's with an absolutely buggered floor. I mean, he's just incredible. Great 8th place for him. Stroll finally getting some points for Williams, but it probably happened at the worst race possible because everybody else has scored heavily as well. Means they're still last, but at least they're on the board. Stoff, again, a long way off Alonso. Sort of lucked into that 9th place, and a point for Hartley, similarly. Sort of lucked into that single point, but he gets his first points in Formula 1, so congratulations to the Kiwi. And Ericsson, Gasly and Magnussen, bad races really. And what have we got? 7 retirements? Yeah, 7 retirements. What the ones?
Many retirements.
We missed. Sorokin, when did he go? Oh, I guess
At the
it was same contact, wasn't it? Yeah.
At the beginning, yeah, he broke his front left suspension, I think.
And that's it from an incredibly eventful race then. Enjoy?
Best race so far? For me?
Yeah,
just because of action.
I would say so. I think for pure excitement, I was more excited by China, the last period of that race. Because it was I just love seeing those 2 Red Bulls trying to make their way through the front guys.
To be fair, though, I went mad when Hamilton got into position like 2 laps to go. I don't think he even believed it.
No, that's another thing to mention.
He
was incredibly muted and really not very happy, I think, about his first win of the season being inherited like that. There was a story that he actually didn't go to the podium celebration straight away. He went and found Valtteri straight away.
Yeah.
To console him, which
it's good of him.
I'm hoping it's genuine. You never really know with Hamilton. It seems like he did. It seems like the kind of thing he'd do also just that he could go and then talk about it afterwards. I know you. That's probably not the case, and he's quite a genuine guy in some respects. I'm sure that was the case, but he wasn't a happy winner.
I think it's nice to see Lewis actually having a positive relationship with his teammate. I know it was all nice and happy with him and Button. I don't think there was ever, there wasn't any, bad feelings between them. Do you know what I mean? They got on, but I don't think Hamilton's a people person, is he? He's not exactly one for, he takes his own plane to and from the races. I don't think he's always got someone to talk to in the press conferences before and the driver conference before. I don't think he makes friends as such. I think he's a bit of an outsider, isn't he? So I think it's good that he's got.
There's a classic picture from a few years ago. The drivers always go for meals a couple of times a year. There's a classic picture a few years ago. There's no way I'll be able to find it now, but it's everybody sat at the table, all like 25 drivers, including all the reserves, and Hamilton has got 2 empty spaces either side of him. He's just on his phone. Yeah, you do kind of get that impression. So yeah, I think him and Valtteri seem pretty tight, and I think they're we'll see if Bottas starts hounding him on the racetrack, which is possibility, and a few instances happen, then it could change, couldn't it? But I think you're right. I think there's a great relationship between them at the moment, and they're united against Ferrari, aren't they? So yeah, so there's a bit of a muted. One thing I will mention from the podium, you notice they tried to change up the interviews this time, interviewing them as soon as they got out of the car. It's fucking painful.
It was awful. I don't think the drivers even knew what was going on. It was rubbish. Yeah, back to the normal setup. Yeah,
they keep trying these new things, Liberty, and I think that was a step too far.
Mm.
But
Oh God, Jesus! 1 second, Jamie. Dun 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 dun. Oh, fucking F1 news, you bastard!
what news we got today? What the squirrel was carrying? Apart from
It's not
chlamydia.
secret news. Jeff from down the road in Ferrari hasn't passed me anything under the door so much just yet. But you know,
Bloody
things
hell,
can
Jeff.
change.
What are you doing?
Come on, Jeff. Alfonso over there he hasn't passed me any information. It's fine. This is just stuff I've received on the grapevine. So F1 Liberty Media decides to trademark the shoey.
What?
Yes, Google it if you want. But F1 have been trying to trademark the shoey. I heard it this morning. Why? What is going on? I think even Fox tweeted something about this today as well.
Trademark the shoey.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Oh, hello.
They've been granted it.
I know! I know!
Even though it originated in Australia some 15 years ago by a surfing and fishing brand.
Actually, guys, it's ours. It's ours.
Well, that's going to cause a few issues. Why have they done that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Like, it was just a bit of fun, and now it's made corporate and gay.
It's registered in 25 countries.
I know. It's horrible. So pretty much now he can only do it at F1 races. Or whoever. I don't know who owns the rights to it now.
The registration is only for one category, but it's a crucial one as it covers flasks, glasses, bottles, mugs, sculptures and figurines. It's basically merchandise that they want to make. So expect to see shoe-shaped beer steins and drinking trophies on sale over the coming months.
Yeah.
Great,
Trademark
just what I
the
wanted. Actually,
Exactly.
that would be quite cool on race day to have a shoey beer. If you're a Ricardo fan,
Lads, you want to get a shoey? Get a shoey in.
So we'll have a shoey.
Shoey's all round.
But they need to make them really realistic, so it looks like a shoe. So one of the mates you can switch for a shoe, and he'll have no idea. Like a really old manky shoe.
He didn't know.
Well, that's cracking breaking news there.
Breaking news. Whenever you didn't think there was news to break, there you go.
I'm stunned by that. They really will sell anything, won't they?
I know.
Surely he gets a say in that. Why do F1 get the rights to that?
I don't know. I saw it today and I was like, really?
That's a bit of a strange one. Well, I thought that noise could mean only one thing, but it didn't. But what could this second noise been? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Oh, it's Crash of the Week, you bastard.
Yes. So after our review, we go to Rage's Crash of the Week, and we've got a few contenders this week.
We have, but first of all, quick word from our sponsors. Crash of the Week is brought to you by Cream in a Can. Canned cream. Find it in your supermarket. It's cream. It's canned. It's put together. It's the best thing since sliced cream. Cream in a can.
They must have some real fucking whack job in this marketing department. Getting worse and worse each week.
I have no idea. They're northern, I hear. Whether that's good, I'm not sure.
I mean, it's slightly insulting to Northerners. Yeah. Great. Right, what is our Crash of the Week?
Well, to be fair, I thought I'd open this up because there were so many different crashes. I think because it's it's a podcast of two people. There needs to be two interpretations of Crash of the Week.
No,
so
it's Rage's Crash of the Week.
Right, Jamie.
And then I tell you
whatsoever.
and then I tell you if I agree with it. You have to make
Rage's
the Crash of the Week. You're giving the award, mate. They're paying you the big bucks.
Rage's Crash of the Week wasn't even a crash. Newsflash!
Actually, thinking about it, I'll strip you of the title if this is going to be the case. Go on.
It wasn't even a crash. It happened, I think, in Q1, 2, 3, 2, 1, maybe. It was the exceptional near miss between the Toro Rosso brothers. Did you see it?
Yes. Hartley had a puncher. And Gasly almost went straight into the back of him because Hartley pulled to the outside of the racetrack.
What was he doing?
I don't know.
So I know it wasn't a crash. However, there's so many crashes that we could have had as crash of the week. But if that actually was a crash, that would have been crash of the year.
That would have been an airplane crash. That
That
was
would have
so
been
scary.
Mark Webber-esque. See
Yeah.
you later, alligator.
Yeah, that was a scary one. Yeah, I don't know what Hartley was thinking. I mean, he just moved to the outside when you got a car on a hot lap. I mean, it's just stupid.
Absolutely nuts. So yeah, that's my crash of the week. And funny enough, it doesn't involve a crash. This is the kind of content you should expect from us here at the Formula Fun podcast.
Labelling and what? Sorry, I've just got some breaking footage.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Breaking footage. I said this is the kind of content you can expect from the Formula Fun podcast, Crash of the Week, sponsored by Cream in a Can. It's not even a crash. So let's have a look. What did you... Oh, you got some footage. Lovely. Let's have a look at the footage.
Yeah, I'm going to wait till these adverts run out. Bloody
that's
Sky.
That's Gasly and Magnussen crash in Baku.
Yeah, I haven't seen this.
This was the crash?
Well, this is a safety car restart, and this has been taken from the onboards. I don't think it was covered.
Oh God,
during
those
the race.
they're aids. 1 second, I've got adverts too.
Yeah, same. Quickly, why it's I'm on 0, so let me know when
pause?
you've
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry,
My crash of the week would
I thought you said you didn't want a crash of the week.
probably no, I said you are the one that gives the title.
Oh, okay.
And then I sort of give the wooden spoon, especially considering yours isn't a crash. Mine's a bit more important this week.
All right. Okay.
There's
2 ads. What the hell is this?
Yeah, it's Sky.
Sorry, carry on.
It's it'd be very easy to give it to Ricciardo and Verstappen, but it's got to be Ocon and Raikkonen.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a proper crash, and I think they broke like one of those foam barriers at the same time, which made it look even more spectacular.
They did. There was white bits everywhere.
And stuff everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, that would be mine. Right, you at 0 on this?
I'm on 0.
So if anyone doesn't know, I'll put this in the description as well.
Pause now so you can find the video. Get through the 2 ads of AIDS, and you
Yeah.
can do it with us on 3, 2, 1. Play. Jamie, it's not playing.
Well,
Jamie, mine's not playing.
well, did you press play?
I did press play. I want to have a technical shit. Nothing to say.
You dumb.
What the...
Well, you fixed that because I was going to give this a precursor so people know what we're watching.
I've got some more aids here.
So obviously we love Kev Magnussen on this podcast and his outrageous driving at times.
And his love of balls everywhere.
Yeah, and well, speak for yourself. So Gasly has come out to label Magnussen the most dangerous guy I've ever raced with after this move in Baku that apparently wasn't on TV cameras. So it's an onboard of those two fighting after the restart. So I don't know what's going to happen.
All right, I'm ready to go. I'm going.
Okay, play.
I've got no sound.
So he's
There
on
we
the
go.
back of him there. Going to the
Oh my God!
K-Mag! What are you doing?
Oh my Jesus!
Oh,
What
then
again?
Yeah,
Literally speechless.
You get him, Pear. Oh, you idiot.
You get a view from K-Mags.
Yeah, I bet you're going to get a little glance in the mirror here. Yep. Oh, yep, just... oh, he's still there. Better just swerve again. There we go.
My God.
It's
I've
bad,
never
isn't
seen
it?
that. I've never, ever seen driving like that. I'm just watching the view from... Is this Gasly?
Yeah.
Oh, that tyre contact, though. My goodness.
I'd love to say it was a one-off, but he's done this time and time again, but that was too far, surely. He's going to get something for that. But yeah, he just puts him in the... For anyone that hasn't watched it, he just tries to put him in the wall down the big straight twice. Just very obviously shutting the door on a straight.
You're going easily 200 miles an hour here.
By the second one, absolutely. That's scary stuff, and there's no place for that.
He didn't get reprimanded for that.
I don't know. I would imagine he must get something. Gasly, most dangerous rival. Haas driver penalised for collision. Handed a 10-second time penalty for it. And also 2 penalty points to his super license, leaving him just 4 away from a 1-race ban. Magnussen said in his defence, I had so many vibrations in the car that the mirrors were useless. I couldn't see anything at all.
Oh, yes, that's why he made 2 moves.
Do you normally just take a little steer towards the wall when going in a straight line, Kay? Oh, dear. Not great. Not putting him in any kind of glory there. Right. A lot of people wanted topics back this week. We are actually recording this very late on a Tuesday. It's already 20 past 10. And we don't really have anything prepared. So I think what we'll do is a short news section. Little predictions to next time. Actually, no. Short. Before the news, let's go on to our Fantasy Formula 1.
Okay.
That we so we started the Formula 1 League. You can check the video out on the channel if you haven't watched it already, and sign up to our Fantasy League, the official Formula 1 fantasy page. We had...
What's the web address for that?
6. It is fantasy.formula1.com. We had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We got 13 teams at the moment, including myself and Rage. And it's Rage that's come out on top in the first race. He's 29 points clear at the top.
Fantasy.formula1.com.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing happened.
Are you putting the number 1 or spelling 1?
No, just spelling formula wrong.
that could do it. Oh, I was gonna say, this site has been such a bastard this weekend. They originally said that this was going to update instantly. Oh, good. My leaderboard now says everybody's back on 0.
I'm going to save it as a favourite. There we go. Your leaderboard says everyone's back where?
Oh, it's alright. It's working. No, it's not. It says everyone's on 0. Is yours working?
Mine says everyone's on 0 also.
Great.
Good stuff.
Well, I was going to go through the rest of the positions, but I can't do. So
because it's all dead.
Great job.
If you click on yourself or people, then tells you your points still. So it says I've got 149 points.
Okay, I don't know who was second. There were quite a few people on 120 odd, so congratulations to all of you that had a good start. Let's go through your opening team then, and how you did so well. So, you went for Leclerc. I so nearly went for Leclerc.
Of course I went for Leclerc.
That's why you're top.
Yeah.
Because he went from 14th to 6th. Now,
did very well.
Another thing everybody needs to think about in this, it's not just where your drivers come, it's how far they go forward. So if you pick a Sauber and they go forward 10 places, that's going to get you a lot of points, as well as the position they finish. So it's about whether they go forward or backwards on the grid, and as well as their finishing and their qualifying position.
So I got 2 big pointers. Well, technically I got 3. I think Hamilton got me the most. He got me 45 points. Then it was Leclerc, I think. Leclerc got me 30 points.
Showing 26 on mine, but...
How do you mean? What?
It's showing that he got you 26 points. Or is that their actual World Championship points?
No. That doesn't have 30 championship points.
Oh, yeah. So Ricardo was -3.
Ricardo was -3. Gasly gave me 14. And Alonso gave me 24.
Yeah, so your turbo driver Alonso really helped there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so I'm assuming you can switch this up every time.
Yes, so you can switch teams between, which I didn't actually say in my initial video because I didn't think.
Oh yeah, it's different. Yeah, it says 48 points I got from Alonso, 26 from Leclerc. Oh, that's weird. -3 for Ricardo, 14 for Gasly, 45 for Hamilton. So I did well out of Alonso and I did well out of Leclerc, really, didn't I?
Yes, I think Alonso got 24 points, but
But here's
he
my turbo.
turbo doubled it.
Yeah. So how did you do? Where are you?
So I'm quite low down. I'm on 90 points.
Who did you choose?
Oh, it's readjusted the order now. I'm joint 7th. So second place, we'll give a shout out to second and third. Second was a rolling chicane, who is Greg. Hey Greg, how you doing, my friend?
Did very well, actually.
He did.
Oh, Alonso was also his turbo driver.
Yep, so he did well out of Alonso. Vettel got him 22 points. Hulkenberg, a lot of us lost points on him, -8. He also went for Bottas. Bottas still got him 7 points. And he went for Force India that got him 39 points as well with that podium. So that was a good call.
Someone, I think Fox posted up a really funny meme about someone to spare a thought for someone who picked literally every single one of the crashes.
Yeah, I think there were quite a few of those on Twitter this weekend.
It was great. It was like, I know mine was bad, but just to spare a thought for this guy. I don't know who it was. It was literally every single person who crashed out.
Honestly, I saw 15, 20 of those tweets during the weekend.
Just savage.
Yeah, it's not great. And we'll give a shout out. I mean, Fox is in 4th. We'll give a shout out to Fox. But 3rd is Shelley Racing. Shelley, I don't know which one you are. You might have said in the comments, but I forgot about that. He did quite well. Again, out of Alonso, Raikkonen and Ferrari probably there. And Fox has got himself in 4th on 109 points. Alonso, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Vettel and Bottas. So yeah, I'm joint 7th with Wolf, Sawyer and TKM. All of us on 90, presumably the same teams. Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Vettel, Ricciardo and Alonso as the turbo. And Red Bull as the constructor. So yeah, Ricciardo lost me points. Red Bull got me 19. Magnussen 12. So it was only really Alonso that saved me. Turbo 24 doubled to 48. And yeah, let's have a shout out to Pow 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 in last place, the Romanian Roberto. Vettel, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Alonso and Ricciardo. And Red Bull. Just 58 points. But yeah, thank you for everybody competing. If anyone hasn't signed up, go ahead and sign up. You can still recover with so many races to go. And yeah, it'll be fun to check in and see who comes out on top. I did say I would announce a prize during this podcast. I haven't quite come up with one yet. I even want to make some kind of like little trophy or do.
Come on, it's got to be a cream of the can T-shirt.
Yeah, maybe a T-shirt, or maybe a Steam game or something. I'll try.
It's got to be a T-shirt. It's got to be merch, mate. A little bit of merch. Cheeky one-off merch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make merch as a one-off.
Yeah, you can make one T-shirt, sure. Yeah, because there are these sites you can design T-shirts on, and they do all the distribution for you if people do buy them. So it doesn't cost anything to set one up and then make one for someone. So yeah, maybe we'll make a celebratory T-shirt. And we'll do something else as well alongside that. But yeah, there'll definitely be some kind of price. I'll work on that for next time.
Can you imagine just walking into your local Tesco's wearing a cream and a can T-shirt?
Yeah, mate. We'll make it like a vintage style. So it looks like it's like one of the oldest drink brands around.
Cream in a can, East 1765.
Yeah.
Creaming in your can.
Oh,
daily.
God. Yeah, maybe I'll design the T-shirt, not really.
No, I'm having someone put into this T-shirt.
Yeah. That sounds like a good idea. Maybe we'll design a T-shirt for the winner and we'll get it sent to you. Whoever wins. Might be yourself.
Oh, God.
And then I'll have to make you wear it and a video of you wearing it like in all kinds of public places.
Oh, no.
Okay, that's the podcast. That's the fantasy for this week. So well done, everybody, and hopefully we all have better luck next time out. I'm quite excited that we can change our team each week, because I think that's where the real skill. And you can do it right up until just before qualifying starts. So that might be a better time to do it for people. That's what I think I'm going to do this weekend. Wait and see how practice turns out. Then you can predict it a little bit better off that, maybe. Right, just a quick bit of news before we start. The big news from today I've lost it. Lost the news. It's big news. So the FIA confirms changes for 2019 in a bid to boost overtaking. So obviously they're still working on the 2021 regulations, but the big changes, there are big changes coming for next year that they've rushed through. They showed the teams in Bahrain, everybody's agreed, and it's going to be happening. So there are 3 changes. The first is going to be a simplified front wing with a larger span and low outwash potential. So
I heard about this as well. I was just like, Jamie said all of these things.
It's exactly what they need to do, and I'm really excited to see if it's going to work and how drastically they take it. I'm hoping they just go to a very standardised sort of 2, 3, 4 element front wing rather than these stupidly complicated things. They're going to have simplified front brake ducts with no winglets allowed on the brake duct, and a wider and a deeper rear wing. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's a great idea. As long as it's very closely governed. Obviously the teams are still by the sounds of it going to have some kind of creative input. I presume they're probably the front wing, they're just going to limit the amount of elements probably, which teams are always going to find a way around, I feel. But the rear wing's important as well, and the brake duct. So I think this is good. Don't know about you, but I think this is I'm interested to see as a short-term solution how it works next year.
I think it's a step in the right direction, but whether it kind of quashes any kind of development, that's the thing I'll be watching. So obviously if it kind of stops people evolving their car in certain areas, it will be a step in the wrong direction. But the racing's got so good of recent, I worry why they want to change things. Like at the moment, we've hit by the looks of things, we've hit a sweet spot with F1 that it's good enough that people are overtaking, the people in front aren't dominating anymore. Do you think it's almost like a knee jerk because of what happened last time? Is it the cars or is it the tracks? You know, we can never tell because we only raced on the same tracks. Like, it only seems to be a problem when you're on certain tracks that people think there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like Melbourne and like, oh Jesus, like not Monaco because it's a bogey track, but even Yas Marina. You know, people be like, oh, you can't overtake anywhere. But is it the cars or is it the track? You know, I just think they always change these things so often. Does it need to be done? I don't know.
I think there's cases for both. I think we have hit a sweet spot, but I think the issue still remains. I still think it's incredibly difficult to follow, especially between two people like Hamilton and Vettel. You've seen this year whoever gets in front will stay in front. They can't get anywhere near each other. I think the Red Bulls have been the exception to it just because of the way they drive. I think against each other between teammates, I think Red Bull are a little bit separate from the case because Ricciardo I think was a bit quicker anyway, and in China it was only so exciting for them to overtake through because they had such fresh tyres. There's a big tyre difference, that's what enabled them. It is still very much the case on most tracks. It's the delta is anything from 1.2 to 2 seconds you need on the car in front, and that is a problem. And I think the wings, especially simplifying that, I don't see much that can go wrong with that. Because by simplifying them, it simplifies the air at the front that's being affected and at the back that's giving the weight to the car behind. I genuinely think if it's governed correctly, even if the teams are allowed to develop it, just reducing the element and reducing how complicated they are is going to help massively. And I think it can only be a step in the right direction. What worries me is the 2021 regulations would be a knee jerk. What worries me is that they're going to have to make a decision for those regulations before we see what the wings do. And I think you're right in one element, maybe not talking about the right year, but whether next year is a development of this year and everything is great, all the engine regulations are working and things get closer and closer and better racing, and then we get to 21 and they change it all again for no reason. the best way to have good racing and closer racing is to leave everything stable. I think the wings is something that's necessary because they've got way too complicated. In even you look at even 2010, 2011, 2012 cars, they are a completely different level the last 2 or 3 years. So I think the wings need to be done.
They look.
They look what?
They look good.
Oh, they look great. Yeah, but I think there's no doubt that's made it very difficult to race. But I'm very worried about 2021 because I feel that they're going to change everything, and I don't think that's needed. Excuse me. But yeah, that's the big news really. There's a little bit of news that Red Bull and Honda have begun preliminary talks, and have until May 15th to make an agreement. So we will see. Do you think that's going to happen?
No.
You don't? You don't think we'll see Hondas in Red Bull next year?
I think they will eke out another year with Renault, and they'll go in Honda in a couple of years' time. I don't think they'll jump straight into it yet. Whether Renault will have them, I don't know.
I think that's the question, isn't it?
I think it's too soon to risk. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's if Red Bull can allow a breathing time, then I think it would be good to get them on board as early as possible, because running 4 engines a weekend rather than 2 is always going to benefit Honda if they work as well with Red Bull as they have with Honda in comparison to McLaren. But we'll see. I deep down think they will change. I think when's Canada? Is Canada before that cut off? Because Canada's the big Honda upgrade. Canada, we have 8th of June, so they can't wait that long. Well, they have till just after Spain to make an agreement. Yeah, but maybe they won't then. It's a bit soon, isn't it?
Mm.
But that's from what you've said in the past, that's Renault's ultimatum. Was that what you've said before?
Sorry, you cut out.
From what you've said before, that's Renault's ultimatum, isn't it? That timeline.
It's Renault forcing the timeline on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, Renault gave them a deadline.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'd like to wait longer, but
I don't know if they have the luxury of waiting longer. We'll have to see.
We will have.
I'd love to see Honda finally again with a car that can challenge, like they haven't been given just yet, and it will, like you say, show whether really the problem was with the engine or if it was McLaren all along. So I don't know. I think Red Bull will still have to demand more from Honda before they sign on the dotted line to go full on. I think they'll do another year.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world they would. It's whether Renault will allow it, but we'll wait and see.
Renault want them to sign on for a good couple of years, don't they? That's the thing. And whether they do, I can't see Red Bull going for a straight Honda situation now. Why would they? They're now in a position where they can fight. Why would they go into that? Seems silly.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll wait and see.
Predictions,
just quickly. Just want to do a little section that I'm going to do, like a 2-minute section before we that we do each time it's applicable, which is Formula 2 update. Because of course, I'm very worried about the future of British drivers, as I've mentioned before. Another great weekend for our boys in Baku. George Russell winning race number. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Pipe down.
Thank you.
George Russell taking his maiden Formula 2 win in race 2. Lando Norris 4th and 6th in the 2 races. And young Jack Aitken, the reserve driver for Renault, was 2nd in race number 1 as well. So it means Norris is still top of the championship. Russell is 6th and Aitken 7th. So our boy's doing good. And you were worried? Why? I'm not as much worried about talent. I know it's there, and from
Whether they get the money and
it's
stuff.
whether they get given the drives. I think Norris and the positive thing about Norris, Russell, and Aitken is they're all signed up to teams. So Norris with McLaren, Russell with Mercedes, Aitken with Renault, and those three teams' big hope for the future. So I would very much hope that all three of them give a chance, because I think they could all be incredibly exciting in Formula 1. But we'll wait and see. Right, predictions for next time. Obviously, we are in Barcelona in 2 weeks' time. Is it 2 weeks?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So this is a good track. It's because they've got a lot of data, haven't they, from testing?
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting this year. Brand new surface at Barcelona for the first time in many years. Caused an awful lot of issues in practice, in testing. So, of course, where Verstappen won his debut race as well, and where we've seen such strange things happen as Maldonado win a race in the past as well. So it's a track that can really throw up surprises. And it's a track, if you get it hooked up on that day in history, you can do something special. So, yeah, I reckon. Do you know what? I reckon Kimi Räikkönen is going to win.
Jesus Christ.
I reckon Vettel and Hamilton are going to have a bad weekend, and I'm going to go Bottas, and I'm going to go Verstappen. It's out there.
He's going to finish. Verstappen's going to finish.
Yeah, I reckon he'll bounce back. That's my predictions anyway.
Fair prediction. I think it will be a 1-2 from the Mercedes boys, and I think Vettel will have a disaster, and Dan Ricciardo will get a third.
Okay. We'll wait and see.
Max will crash again.
I think Fox said he was going to... Well, it's very possible, isn't it? I think Fox said he was going to go back and take a look at the podcast and see if we get these right. I would strongly recommend you don't do that, because I strongly think we don't. And also, we have a fantasy league now, so we kind of get... But I'm probably not going to pick the same fantasy league that I've just said. So.
God, no!
But yeah, that's our predictions, and I think that's going to be the podcast for this week. As always, thank you, Rage, for joining me.
It's all right.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you guys continue to enjoy the podcast. It gives us an excuse to meet up after every race and have a chat, which is why we wanted to do it initially. Because that's become harder to do over the years, hasn't it, for us? You know, we always...
Wow, you're putting the onus on me.
Not at all. No, I was just saying we don't really... You know, we used to watch every race live together.
Oh, yeah, I get what you
Back in
mean.
the
Yes,
days,
no, we did.
and,
We did. We watch every race together.
Yeah, so now we... it's a good excuse for us to have a nice long chat about Formula 1 and the race and Formula 1 in general. And hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. So that's going to be it for another week. If you guys did enjoy the podcast, you can hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe as well and go and watch some of the other content on the channel as well. Yeah, we got Project Cars next week. This week, even on Thursday. 2 races to go now. I will also be doing a Rallycross warm-up event. Taking part in a Rallycross ORL League as well. That should be either tomorrow or Friday, I don't know yet. And I think, did you say Sunday there's going to be a warm-up F1 League race?
Yeah, there might be an F1 Sunday warm-up race, yeah.
Yeah, so you might get a whole lot of streaming from the RL this coming up. And,
well, I'll definitely be on the Wassamajiggy one this Thursday. Whether this is going to be out by Thursday, I'm assuming it will be.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
I will probably... I always try and get out on the Tuesday, but I think this is going to be Thursday. Wednesday. So this should be up the day before. So yeah, join us for Project Cars. And yeah, keep tuned in for maybe quite a lot of streaming this week. We'll see. Keep an eye on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already. TwimRLJ. You can throw Rage a follow at the same time, because even though he never uses it.
No.
Rage_F1. And we are out of here. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Chicken straws.